Wesley Shifflett shot an unarmed man at the end of a foot pursuit. He got fired. He was found guilty. He was sentenced to prison. And then, in a shocking twist of clemency, Governor Youngkin stepped in, freeing him. This whole thing is going to cause you to question justice across the board. It goes deep. Not just the police department, not just the governor's office, all the way through. My name's Kevin. This is Badgecast. I'm a former police officer with 12 years of experience. I'm here to break this and all things law enforcement down for you. Let's get right into it. So I talked about it there in the intro. We get right into it here in this first case. This goes all the way back until February of 23, when some plainclothes officers got in a foot pursuit with a shoplifting suspect. His name, Timothy McCree, and they chased him for blocks. Like, this is a long foot pursuit. We got the video. We're going to get into it in a second. We're not going to bore you with 6 minutes like last video, but it'll be short. And we're going to break it all down. So that happened the 23rd of February. So apparently Fairifax County Police Department has a policy where they're going to release body cam and they're going to release the names of the officers involved in shootings. Well, you'll see in the midst of all of these articles, they only talk about one guy that shot him. Two guys cranked off rounds, and only one got fired. Only one got prosecuted. So a couple days later, they released the names. So you have a Sergeant Wesley Shifflett. He's the main guy of this whole thing. And we got Police Officer First Class James Sadler, 7 years and 8 years respectively, which is kind of shocking. I don't know how Fairfax Police Department works, but a 7-year cop that is already a sergeant. Is he a supervisor? I don't know. Couldn't figure that out anywhere in here. All right, here's the video. We pick it up midway through the foot pursuit, and here it is.
Got the radio. Urban 2 holding channel for us. Bloomingdale's flat lot. Black male going towards 7 from Fashion. He's crossing over.
Officers continued to pursue as Johnson changed direction and ran across Fashion Boulevard towards a wooded area.
Crossing over, guys. Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
While following Johnson into the woodline, both officers discharged their firearms. Johnson was struck in the chest 1 time.
Going into the woods. Through the woods. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Stop reaching. Stop reaching. Shots fired.
All right, so that's pretty much the end of that. You can watch this video later. I'll put it in the description below, but this foot pursuit's pretty long. It's blocks, like up and down some stairs in the parking garage at this mall. Supposedly he was stealing some sunglasses. Well, ultimately the whole case is they have so many problems in this area that they have this plainclothes unit of cops that are working at this mall. They got information from loss prevention at whatever store this is, and they went out chasing this guy down the street, across the bridge, and through the river and damn near to grandma's house. Well, as you can see in that really crappy body cam footage, they chase him across the street, and the rounds start going off before he falls to the ground. And then he starts talking about stop reaching, stop reaching. So I question, I believe he probably was afraid of something. He saw something. But you can see from the thumbnail, which was some security footage from inside the PD when he was getting his internal affairs investigation, he is describing what he's seeing or what he remembers seeing. The body cam doesn't really show us a whole lot, so we're going to have to go off of what people were saying. So 3 rounds get shot, 2 from Shifflett, 1 from Sadler, who kind of just shoots in response. Reflexive shooting. It happens. I mean, rounds start flying and everybody's shooting. I don't know. My response to the foot pursuit is it's a long foot pursuit. This is an inherent problem with not having some actual standards in these police departments of physical fitness. You guys can all probably relate seeing some fat cops rolling around the street in their cars. Well, I don't know how in shape this dude was. He seems like he's fairly in shape based on the photos of what he looks like, but he ran for a while, and you're out of breath and you're tired and your head's a little foggy and you think you see something, but I don't know. I think we live in a world now where you got to have a little more visual of a threat, of a gun, of a weapon before we start throwing rounds downrange. He maybe was a little hasty. Yeah, he's reaching for something, but we've all seen those cases too, where everybody's reaching for a cell phone in their pocket, and then this guy dies from it. Well, as we flash forward to the ever reliable CNN, you saw it. So not 4 weeks later, the police chief comes out in Kansas guy, and they determine, based on his statements to the internal affairs, were inconsistent. They basically, I think they ended up firing him basically just to make him a scapegoat. It started taking some media hit, and the guy that died's mom started making a bunch of noise, and, you know, white cop shoots black guy, and it makes a lot of news. Well, he wasn't exactly lining up his statements with his body cam footage. And that's a whole other issue from the trial later. They leaked out some other body cam footage. Well, officers' actions do not meet the expectations of the police department. Again, how many videos in a row are we going to do where these guys are getting fired for conduct unbecoming? We can't actually point out a policy violation, but we're going to get you on the conduct unbecoming. They pulled up his body cam footage and ultimately decided that it wasn't consistent. Well, that was a month later. Well, now the DA's office gets involved because the guy gets fired, and they impaneled the grand jury. And I don't know if you've ever heard, you can indict a ham sandwich, which means the DA's office can present whatever they want. And the first grand jury, which you'll see in a second, wouldn't hang this guy on anything. They wouldn't indict him on anything. And so everybody was up in arms. There was protests and lots of people out with microphones in front of their faces talking about how unjust it is that this guy's going to get off the hook for shooting an unarmed man. Well, the officer, what's his name? Shifflett, appeals his termination, and ultimately the circuit court denies his appeal. The county executive determined that neither arbitrary or, that's a $5 word, conspicuous, nor made in bad faith. In contrast, the determination was well-grounded and fact and proper. Basically, the court says, yeah, they fired him for good reasons. What's funny is the other guy that cranked off a round in the general direction of the guy that died, he got put on desk duty, and I can't find anywhere what's happened to that dude other than maybe he's still working. He probably got off desk duty after the admin hearing, and he's back out working. So the court upheld his termination, and so we keep moving on. Well, as a result of that, they impaneled a special grand jury. They found more people to come down and got them involved, and they end up indicting him. Well, what did they end up indicting him on? Here is the indictment here. Ultimately, they found out in the course of this grand jury hearing that they were going to have him held for involuntary manslaughter and negligent discharge of a firearm. Those are the two charges. And as a result of that, they had a trial. And in that trial, the jury found that he was not guilty of the involuntary manslaughter, but found him guilty of the negligent discharge of the firearm. Well, because of all the gun reform we've had in all these states, blue, purple, in the last however many years, we have had these gun charges are holding way more penalties than you're having in actual killing of other people. So the recommendation from the probation department and the parole department was that this guy shouldn't have gotten any jail time anyway. Well, that was this last October, found guilty. And as the reason this all comes to light now is because just a couple weeks ago, he got sentenced to 3 years in prison, 2 years suspended. So 5 years total in prison for negligent discharge of a firearm, and then 5 years of supervised release after that. So 10 years total time, 2 years suspended in custody. Well, here comes old Glenn Youngkin doing what is going to become the most debated part of this whole thing. Should Glenn Youngkin have gotten involved? Glenn Youngkin grants clemency of Shifflett. And so he's out. He was in jail for like a couple days and then got released. Thanks to old Uncle Youngkin. This is where it all comes in. The entire criminal justice system is broken from the beginning of the fact that this guy inside of a month got fired for basically conduct unbecoming. Then he goes and takes 2 grand juries to get this guy figured out that he's going to face some charges. And now he ends up being guilty of the gun charge, but not killing the guy. Which one is it? So if he negligently discharged a firearm, killing someone, is that not voluntary manslaughter, let alone involuntary manslaughter? So which one is it? Did he mean to kill the guy or not? That's kind of what the chief was saying when he fired him. I don't know that man, the video is just not good. It doesn't look good. Bad optics all the way around, but doesn't mean that we should be hanging people up for it. We shouldn't be prosecuting. Like, maybe this is just like a good old Dave Chappelle, don't run from the cops, because the cops bring an ass whooping with them. It's over some sunglasses, man. Just stop. Did you steal some sunglasses or not? I don't know. Pay your dues. You wouldn't be dead. This guy wouldn't have gone to jail. Glenn Youngkin wouldn't have had to get involved. So here's a statement from Glenn Youngkin's office. I have today used my executive clemency authority granted by me by the Constitution of Virginia and commuted the sentence imposed on Sergeant Wesley Shifflett, who was convicted of recklessly discharging a firearm by the Fairifax County Circuit Court. I am convinced that the court sentence of incarceration is unjust and violates the cornerstone of justice system. That similarly situated individuals receive proportionate sentences. I want to emphasize that the jury acquitted Mr. Shifflett of a more serious charge of involuntary manslaughter, but it's only more serious by name, not by what your legislature over the past however many years has changed everything. They made the gun charges worse for everybody. It's not the guns that are killing people, folks. It's people that are killing people. A conviction of which the sentencing guidelines recommended no jail time or up to 6 months of incarceration. He got 5 years, 2 years suspended sentence. That's what Shifflett got. He got 5 years in prison. State prison. I don't know. Seems a lot. And then, like I said a minute ago, Youngkin points out that both the senior probation and the parole officer's recommendation was no incarceration nor supervised probation, and instead imposed a sentence of 5 years incarceration. That's what he got, 5 years. Crazy. If you guys are stuck around this long in the video, you guys should subscribe. We're going to keep kicking these things out. We're going to keep doing this. You guys will probably like it. The crazy thing about this is then Shifflett, so he got clemency. So his charges, his criminal record is still going to show that he was found guilty of negligent discharge of a firearm. But so he went, and his attorneys basically went back to the appellate court and tried to get the entire case overturned. And that was just this last couple of weeks. Well, way on down here at the bottom, you get the conclusion. You don't need the whole backstory. We just all talked about it. So January 14th, 2025, they tried to get this whole thing tossed out. ultimately, the motion to strike and the motion to set aside the verdict was all denied by the appellate court. Youngkin saved this dude, man. What do you guys think? Get in the comments below. Let's debate this thing. Do you guys think this guy should have been fired? Do you think he should have been charged? Do you think he should have gone to prison? Do you think Youngkin should have even gotten involved? Is the criminal justice system a better place because of all of this? Guy's dead on the side of the road in the bushes. He didn't deserve to die like that. But he committed a crime, and maybe he was reaching in his waistband, maybe he wasn't. Maybe that's not the threshold we should work with in the world anymore. Maybe we should take a couple more split seconds and be more highly trained officers to identify threats before and as they happen. You can have your gun out and have them right on them. Be ready to go. Finger in the trigger well, ready to go. And have the trigger discipline to not crank rounds off before you see the emerging threat of a gun coming out of this guy's waistband. I don't know. Until the next time on this Badgecast, see ya later.